Hello, everybody. Welcome in to whatever this is going to be. We'll see how long this lasts. We'll see how well this YouTube live show goes. As you can see, I am not in my typical humble abode. I am live from a hotel room. Okay, so this is the dedication that I have to you guys, and perhaps more selfishly, this is actually just me feeling like I have to finish this. Right? Like we started this channel with a quest for the Big 12 to survive. And now we are here at a point where the Big 12 is emphatically surviving, has added all four corner schools. That is official now, by the way, as of about 5 minutes ago. Had I started at 8:30, which is what the original plan was going to be, we would not have caught that it was official from the Big 12 now, but it is official. Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah are all being added to the conference. And we even have Jason Scheer reporting that the Big 12 may try to go to 18. It may not stop here. It may try to go to 18, and that could mean basketball-only members. There's a lot still to sort out here. Obviously, the Big Ten has officially added Oregon and Washington as well. That's definitely on the table to talk about here tonight. I am already looking forward to some of the jokes because I'm laughing at Christian saying John's streaming during a police interrogation. That is exactly the vibe of this. Thank you for that, because I was trying to figure out, I almost said like a hostage situation video. I was jokingly going to tweet that, but it does feel almost a little bit more like a police interrogation than a hostage situation. But either way, I mean, I guess I would say, like, you can see the glare off my glasses, right? Like the ring light that's right here. I'm not sure that in a hostage situation they would be giving you a ring light. Maybe they would. I guess that, make sure that the video quality looks good. Everybody's got to do that these days. We're all on Zoom calls. So I digress. I'm here to chat about it. I've been following it as much as I can throughout the day, little blasts here and there of Twitter and reading up as much as I can. So if I have missed anything, you guys feel free to let me know. But we're gonna talk through it, man. We're just gonna talk through it. I would say celebrate, but I do want to be a little bit measured with this, because I think what we would be celebrating here is feeling vindicated. Folks like Jason Scheer deserve an emphatic victory lap he was putting himself on the line much more than anybody like myself ever was, because it was like his reporting. Like his reporting was on the line. I'm just a guy that reacts and gives you snarky commentary and insight about things, right? I'm not the reporter guy. So the battle was between the Big 12 and the Pac-12 propaganda machine. It was not Oregon State, Washington State. It was not even the conference as a whole. It was not even like, I agree with everybody that's saying this is a bad thing for college athletics in general. Like clearly conference realignment and TV controlling everything is not a great thing for the sport that we love, but it's the reality. And that is a take that I definitely want to get off here at one point. It was annoying to see everybody act just stunned and shocked. Like, oh, this can happen. Like they can just shut down a conference. Well, ask the Southwest Conference about that. Ask the Big East about that. The Big 12's got a couple members of those old conferences. And, oh, by the way, the Big 12 has looked death straight down the barrel 2 times. One time at the hands of the Pac-12, by the way, back in 2010, 2011. So get out of here with trying to vilify the Big 12 in this, or vilify Big 12 fans for having some fun with this and taking a bit of a victory lap. I don't think anybody needs to apologize for that. But at the same time, I don't love the loss of all the history of the Pac-12. I don't love what's happening to Washington State and Oregon State in all of this. So I will just say it's going to be a little bit measured with that. We can certainly celebrate some, but I don't want it to just be like totally overwhelming raucous party, because it's very complicated, very, very complicated here. But yes, as we've talked about before, for a fan base, and by that I just mean the fans of the Big 12 that have just been trampled over, used as a doormat, made fun of, again, almost died multiple times, sitting here with like 9 lives like a cat. It is a time to be happy that your conference has really shown some strength in pulling through, with now 4 extra Power 5 members being added to the conference when you have lost 6 in your history total. So that's what we've got. That's what we've got today. You guys really know what we've got. I don't need to tell you that, what's on the docket here tonight. But if you want to be a part of the chat, if you don't mind the police interrogation vibes here from a hotel room in Madison, Wisconsin, then you can join the show. There are 430 people in here already. It is going to be a crowded chat tonight, I am sure. So if you want to be a part of this, click the $ below the chat box where it says chat. You can attach a donation to your chat. That super chat will then pin up at the top for me. It will keep it there. It will ensure that it gets on the chat here tonight, and I will read it. So that is how you can be a part of the channel and support the work I'm doing here to bring you Big 12 content on a week in, week out basis, realignment content, and content from a freaking hotel room on vacation. All right. So all the support is much appreciated. Couldn't do it without you guys. And a totally free way to support the channel that you can hop in right now and do is just simply like the video. That's all it takes. Just like the video. Just one click, one like. That would be great. It would help me out, helps me with the almighty algorithm, and is much appreciated. You can also leave a comment before, during, or after the video in the comment section. That really helps me as well. So I'd appreciate all of you guys who do that. It's John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo, by the way, if you would like to contribute and you are not catching this live. I understand, like on a Friday night, I was wondering like what the crowd would actually look like here because it's a Friday night, and I would hope, that everybody's out spending time with friends and family, right? And there are friends and family to be spending time with here tonight. But I appreciate those of you that are spending it with me. Thank you very much for that. Okay, let's get off and running here with McMuffin. What is up, McMuffin? McMuffin, I'm liking the new avatar, by the way. But McMuffin says, we did it, John. Congrats all. Sad for OSU Wazoo. My sentiments exactly. Like, it is a difficult line to toe when I do truly, especially as a K-State fan, I truly feel for Oregon State and Washington State. Time and circumstance very easily could have been my school in the same situation. So that makes it a little difficult to go all in with the celebrating. But certainly as the reporting of this has gone, those on the Big 12 side have to look and feel very vindicated right now with how all of this worked out. And boy, down to the dying embers, we had John Canzano talking about potential antitrust issues with how everything happened here. And it was a wild day. We had a moment where the reports were coming out today that there was almost a change of heart happening, and the Pac-12 might actually be able to pull this off. Of course, that did not work out. And if you read Jason Scheer, he insinuated that may have been a little like CYA sort of action. Cover yourself if you are, speaking of like antitrust and lawsuits, or just if we're going to play it off as like they really genuinely cared about not wanting to be known, the Big Ten, as the league that killed the Pac-12. I think they probably will be anyway because they took USC, but maybe not in delivering the death blow. Appearances, basically. Long way to say it sounded like that could have been more for appearances' sake than anything else, to try and save face a little bit and make it seem like and look like they really did whatever they could to try and save the league. Will, what's up, Will? Will says the four corner states have been renamed Your Corners now that Yormark has swept all four. Some call it Lebronto of the West. Boy, how about that, man? He did. He got a clean sweep. And that whole dynamic was beginning to unfold in a pretty fascinating way because so many of the reports from yesterday were about Arizona's board meeting and the fact that Mr. Crow, good old president at Arizona State, was dragging his feet quite a bit on all of this, not seemingly want to acquiesce to the reality that the Pac-12 did not have a deal that was going to work, that the Pac-12 was not going to stay together, that the Big Ten was clearly coming back and involved now with Oregon and Washington. Lots of reason to believe that was not going to be a tenable solution, but still didn't really want to do it. Now, I will say Arizona State fans seem to be pretty on board with it, but definitely not the Prez. And reports were that the athletic department seemed to be into it as well, from Arizona State understanding the reality of the situation. Utah, I actually feel like Utah, their administration probably has never been as against the Big 12, or like looking down on the Big 12 as the fan base had, right? Clearly, I think they were against the move just because they didn't want to leave the Pac-12. They had more reason than anybody, literally anybody that was left, to love the Pac-12 and the situation that they were in. So I get that. We're going to have to transition to that Utah discussion here at some point in time. I'm not coming in saying like, hey, this athletic department, screw them. That is not going to be my attitude toward this at all. Some of the fans on Twitter, perhaps, we'll see how they wind up taking it. But I am at least not going to be over the top with hating on the athletic department. But that's pretty good, Will. Pretty good. Your Corners, Lebronto, Big 12 and 4. I believe that's what the kids would say. The kids would say Big 12 and 4. R-Web, what's up, R-Web? I knew I was going to see you here. I was looking forward to it. I appreciate you being here throughout this entire process and celebrating with me from the police interrogation room here today. Our web says, all hail, hashtag Big 12 Karen and Yormark, defender of the faith and all good and just. You know, our web, this is going to feel good. This is going to feel as good as any of them because, boy, I tell you, that check today when the Big 12 secured the four corners, that check hit real nice from Karen. All hail, Overlord Karen. All hail. Boy, do we remember those days when the Big 12 Karen storyline was really hot and heavy, and everybody was all worried about Endeavor. Seems like Endeavor did a pretty good job. I finally saw, I know like John Wilner wrote it at one point, that Brett Yormark is a very good salesman. It seemed like that message like finally got through to Pac-12 country here at the final hour, right? Like maybe Brett Yormark wasn't full of bleep. Maybe Brett Yormark wasn't this empty promise used car salesman guy. Maybe Brett Yormark actually was a world-class marketer with an insane resume that would back that up, and he found a way to completely change the stratosphere of the Big 12 conference, the entire ethos. Like everything turned because of Brett Yormark, and he now has added 4 Power 5 schools to a league that twice have been left for dead and lost 6 overall in their history. So yes, lessons learned for everybody. And I just, if they would have watched the YouTube channel, they might have listened. They might have learned a little bit sooner, but unfortunately we can't all be there. We can't all be there right away. Sometimes it takes some hard lessons. Tomcat F14. This is a pretty good comment, Tom. Tomcat F14 says, I feel like the dog that caught the car. What now? There is a little bit of that to me where I was thinking about that as I was driving back to get ready to do this right now. I was like, man, what do we do now? Like, this has been the pursuit. This has been the buildup. This has been a year. I mean, really, if we're talking about 2 years from the time that the Big 12 first lost Texas and Oklahoma, but the buildup with the Pac-12 thing, that has been a full year. We have caught the car. Now I think you kind of get to rest in a little bit of like, just, take a deep breath and be like, okay, for now, like we've already hit the next big iteration of all of this with one conference taken down. I guess we'll continue to see what happens with the ACC, but because Florida State, I mean, my guy, sounds like Florida State, seeing that they're going to work with like private equity to try and get this done, just drove into my brain. I was like, yesterday I was literally thinking, I was like, the Saudis are coming into everything. Florida State would absolutely be the first school to do that. Maybe Texas A&M. I feel like one of those two. And now I'm seeing all the jokes about it today. And I'm like, damn, I should have gotten some of those off sooner when I first thought of it. But no, it's a pretty easy parallel to draw there. So the ACC, bottom line, could be a mess. We'll continue to monitor it. That could work out well for the Big 12 to pick up some more scraps there. But for now, I think you just kind of enjoy it, like soak it in. You've got a season coming up. Like think about this, Tomcat. We've got a season coming up that everybody gets to enjoy. We've spent the dog days of the offseason here putting together this victory that's been a year culmination for everybody. And now you get to sit and enjoy it. You get to sit and enjoy it. Enjoy the fruits of your labor, whatever it is. If you want to go read through Canzano tweets and stories, if you want to go read through Tony Altimore tweets, whatever it is that makes you feel better, or if you just want to go hang out in chats like these and talk to Big 12 fans, I think that's all the answer. That's all the answer for right now. Also, this is another thing I will say. Yormark is not just going to like sit on this and rest on his laurels, man. Yormark is going to continue pushing, and that leads me into the Jason Scheer tweets that I'll read to you in just a moment. Ben, what's up, Ben? Thank you for being here. Ben says, excited for Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. Go Bearcats. Hey, shout out to all of them, Ben. I am excited for all those schools coming in. Hopefully they are excited. I think throughout this process, the way it played out, there probably is a sense of relief for Arizona State and Utah fans, particularly Arizona State, because they felt like their president was going to screw this thing up for a while. So I can understand breathing a sigh of relief there, and hopefully that will help Arizona State come in a little bit happier, because I had seen some of the discussion like, hey, do you worry about those two schools coming in unhappy in this conference that is so unified right now, that being something that might screw it up? I did have like a slight thought of that, but it doesn't really seem like, I don't think the admins are really going to be that much of a problem there. Well, aside from, I mean, look, I guess Arizona State president and AD has not been real strong leadership here as of late. Maybe there are some concerns there, but I don't feel like the athletic department at Arizona State would be too much of an issue. Cat fan in Huskerland, a.k.a. Daniel Osborne. What is up, Daniel? Appreciate you being here. Thank you for your support as always, my friend. Daniel says, welcome to the truck stop, Wildcats, Sun Devils, and Utes. Yeah. Gambling Gauchos, man. Shout out to my guys, the Gambling Gauchos. They had at one point the picture of all of the trucks, the 18-wheelers, one for each school, right, in the conference, and they did it with the four corners. So they had the full gambit of everything, like all set up and ready to go. And this was months ago that they had tweeted that out. And then today they got to bust it back out and be like, hey, look, this all came to fruition. Everybody gets their 18-wheeler. Everybody gets their 18-wheeler. That's what happens when you officially sign the paperwork to join the Big 12 Conference. You get handed the keys to your 18-wheeler. And that has now happened to the Four Corner schools. So congratulations to them for that. Obviously, I'm sure was the most exciting part of this entire process for them. But, hey, thank you again, Daniel. Appreciate your support. Appreciate you being here. Starter 179. What's up, Starter 179? Starter 179 says, we need the narrative. This is repair of history, not a loss. We have 5 of the original 8 together and renewed the board conference, changed the narrative. Okay. I mean, it is definitely going to be different. Like that is when you're talking again about the comment of like, hey, we caught the car. The dog finally caught the car. What do we do now? You do start to kind of change the narrative and the message. And we've already seen how good Yormark is at doing that. In 1 year, he transformed the Big 12 from downtrodden, being a carcass that other people were going to pick at. Are they even better than the AAC? I mean, it's been completely transformed now into a conference that other people have to at least respect to a degree. Now, if you're a Big Ten or an SEC fan, I get that, most of them aren't going to do a whole lot of respecting. But we've seen from the national media, like there is a respect for Brett Yormark. There is much more of a respect for this league than there was. So now what is he going to do that you have these schools in here? Now he can start formulating even more. Like you've just given Brett Yormark more ammo. And that guy didn't need very much ammo to start marketing the league better, to start selling his vision to all of these schools that he was recruiting, to be patient and strike when he knew he needed to strike. Now you're handing him the ammo of having this new league to rebrand. Like there is, of all the things Brett Yormark does, I think branding is number one. And if there is a guy that I want to hand the keys over to for a total rebrand, it's him. I'm not sure that you could have much better of a situation there than getting him to take everything over and direct this wherever it's going to go. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where that goes. And I like the attitude there. No, there is not going to be Texas or Oklahoma. But I mean, as we start to talk about what this means for the league, like Utah football, here's the turn, Utah. Here's the turn. We've been taking shots for a long time. You guys got a mighty fine football program. I've always said it. I have actually always said that, even with some of the barbs. Got a really nice football program. TCU just played for the national championship last year. Cincinnati was in the college football playoff the year before. All right. There's some pretty good football that's going to be played in this conference, man. And we may already have the genesis of some rivalries with Utah because of the way that they acted there. So I'm here for it. We can change the narrative. This is going to be a very fun league. Cat fan in Huskerland, a.k.a. Daniel Osborne, forgot to add Go Cats. Hey, amen to that, Daniel. Amen to that. Go Cats indeed. Thank you for your support as always. D-Day, new conference name. So here's the thing with the new conference name. New conference name. I have only seen bad suggestions. That is problem number one. I have yet to see a good suggestion for a new conference name. Number two, there is brand equity and value in being the Big 12. And I know that not all of it has been great, but at least over the last year to 2 years, if you want to stretch that out, it has been better, and it is certainly moving in a positive direction. That's a difficult one to me to think about, especially if you're going to be the first conference to do this, because any conference with a number in it, it's going to get very wonky now moving forward. If you're the first one to do that, I just feel like you run the risk of getting made fun of a lot, and that could stop some of the momentum. I would actually be a little bit nervous about that. So I'm just not crazy about it. But if someone could sell me on, here's the new name, and this is why it's great, and if Yormark's going to get behind it, I suppose I could be convinced, but I'm definitely not there right now. I am definitely not there right now. Dave, what's up, Dave? Dave, I appreciate you being here. Dave B in the house. Thank you for your support. Dave says, needed something to listen to while mowing and tried the Monty show. Couldn't do it. John Kurtz greater than Monty, and it ain't close. Well, I'm not I appreciate the kind words, Dave. I'm not going to trash on anybody. I think Monty does a really good job. I actually yesterday, I think it was either yesterday or today. I was driving around and I listened to a bit of the Monty show. I've had enough people tell me that they really enjoy it here lately that I started tuning in because I just was not very familiar before that. So I think they do a great job. It's a very professional setup. So I'm not going to trash them. I think you should support them, support everybody in this space, 365. Kuz's Corner. I mean, everybody that's doing this, make sure that you support everybody who is out there busting their butt to give you good Big 12 and conference realignment content. But I appreciate the kind words, Dave. I really, really, truly do. Christian. What's up, Christian? Christian says, the good thing about this is that everyone now has a villain to collectively root against. Get ready for those Utes. Go Cougs. It has been very funny watching the dynamic of this unfold, not just between Big 12 fans and Utah fans, but also between BYU fans and Utah fans, and BYU fans giving you the kind of like, hey, this is what we've been dealing with for a while. Like, have fun with this. We already know about all of this. I have enjoyed that, and I am definitely looking forward to what that rivalry is going to be like in the Big 12. I hadn't even like fully taken that in, and like fully gotten to that point. Like, we're going to get the Holy War as a conference game. We're going to get the Holy War as a conference game now, man. That is great. So, yes, some rivalries are lost, although kudos to Oregon and Washington for saying that they're going to continue to play the Apple Cup and the artist formerly known as the Civil War. We're not calling it that anymore, but both of those rivalry games will continue. At least there's that. That's like maybe can soften some of the blow a little bit. But anyway, I was glad to see that. We're losing some rivalries, but we're also gaining some rivalries now. You got the Territorial Cup with Arizona and Arizona State, and now you've got the Holy War. So we are gaining some rivalries here in this league, and it was pointed out many times on Twitter. I saw it again the other day. Who did that interview a while back? I wish I could remember. Someone did an interview with very high up TV executive at ESPN who throughout the realignment process said, we're not really looking at markets anymore so much as we are rivalries. And if you want rivalries, the Big 12's got rivalries. They've also now got more late night windows to sell. It's going to become Big 12 after dark. I would imagine here, although I guess the Big 10 can do some of that too. But that's all, again, a part of branding. Like Pac-12 after dark, that was very well branded. That did well for the Pac-12. Now you can take that over. That's another example of something you can take over as the Big 12 right now. Make it your own. You think Brett Yormark won't know how to market that? Brett Yormark is going to know how to market the hell out of that and just turn this conference into the most fun conference out there. Say what you will about the SEC and the Big 10. Maybe the SEC could lay claim to being the best and the most fun conference. Big 12 is going to be a more fun conference than the Big 10. I mean, I can go ahead and tell you that right now. And that's not a statement on what league is better. It's, look, we know who's going to make more money, who has the bigger brands, who has these bigger state schools that just take up the entire state. We're like, that's the thing. Look, the Big Ten's got that, but exciting conferences. The Big 12 will be worlds more exciting in football. And obviously, I haven't even touched basketball. I've not even touched the basketball league now, with Arizona basketball officially secured as a property for this conference. Cyclone Steve, what's up, Cyclone Steve? He says, I can live with ASU if there is a Colorado, KU, K-State, Iowa State pod. I would bet that what you'll see more so than pods is probably more like protected rivals. We'll see how that actually looks, but I've still been more on the getting 3 protected rivals. But for Iowa State, that could then be K-State, KU, Colorado that you would play every single year. So we'll monitor that. That's another thing to keep our eyes on here. That's going to be a part of the fallout of all this. LA Horn Frog. What's up, LA Horn Frog? Thank you for the kind words, my friend. He says, thanks, JK, for getting me through this. Go Big 16. For now, it's the Big 16, LA Horn Frog. But let me read to you from our guy, Jason Scheer. His Twitter feed has updated here with a Robert Robbins tweet. The president in Arizona said, pleased Arizona will join the Big 12 conference in all sports beginning in the 24-25 academic year. Arizona football released a video here. Arizona released a video where their football helmet already has the Big 12 logo on it. How about that? That's how you know that when they said they were further along, that's what they meant. Every time you heard, hey, the Big 12's further along in discussions with Arizona than anybody else, it meant that they were getting to the point where they would be ready to release the helmet decal just right away. I'm getting off track here. I'm sorry. I'm not quite as organized tonight. Here it is. Jason Scheer, 1 hour ago. There's a very real chance that the Big 12 votes for Yormark to look into expanding to 8 teams Schools are unknown at this time, and this isn't going to likely be quick, but he is going to get the go-ahead. So I guess the UConn hopes are not dead. We shall see. Jason Scheer also says there is also a real chance that the two editions would be basketball only. Yormark is going for the kill. Gonzaga and UConn would be just basketball editions, and there have been discussions in the last 48 hours. Excuse me. There have been discussions in the last 48 hours. A lot to work on with that, though. Okay, so how about that, man? How about that? If we're talking about fallout of all of this, that is a fascinating piece of this. 18, Brett Yormark going for the kill. And I like going for the kill. Andrew, thank you for being here. Andrew Woodward, appreciate you, my friend. Andrew says, get back to vacation. Buy a beer at Tipsy Cow. I tried to get into Tipsy Cow last night, actually, but there was like an hour wait, so we wound up going somewhere else. I love Madison. Love Madison. Great place. IDK James, I went to Emory, so don't have a football team, but love college football. I'm fascinated by this. Utah board approved tonight on Twitter. Clemson and FSU next. Yeah, Florida State, I don't know. We'll have time to more properly digest that probably at a later date here on this channel. So on brand for Florida State. And I feel them. I understand where they're coming from with all this, but they've been so heavy-handed with it. It is a little off-putting. Florida State has been a little off-putting with this. And Clemson, I feel like, has played it pretty well because they're basically getting Florida State to just go do the dirty work for them and just whine and publicly complain and make everybody else mad in the conference. So I think Clemson actually has been the smarter party in all of that. Carl, what's up, Carl? I appreciate you being here. Carl says, I like Zach's question, so it gets seen. With the Red River rivalry and Bedlam gone, how would you rank the remaining /new rivalries? Oh, man. I'd have to, actually get out and we've got I'm just thinking myself here. Farmageddon, Sunflower Showdown, KU, K-State. We're going to have Territorial Cup. We're going to have Holy War. We got Baylor, TCU. What else am I missing here? I'd have to really go down the list and I don't Holy War and Territorial Cup. I'm going to have to get a better feel for. I don't have a great feel for where those exactly are at. Who else am I missing? Hopefully we'll get the backyard brawl here at some point if the ACC implodes. Let's just go Big12sports.com. Big12sports.com. Who am I missing? I don't know. I feel like I hit a lot of the major ones there, right? I don't know. I don't feel like it's totally fair for me to rank them. I'm inclined to go Holy War number one. I guess I'll tell you that. I'm inclined to go Holy War number one, just gut, my gut instinct on all of that. But that is a very unpolished opinion, okay? That's a very unpolished opinion. It is a good question. It's a very good question. Very, very good question. Joe, what's up, Joe? Joe says, Brett Yormark is the man, John. He knows how to pull the right levers. He certainly does. That was really when Wilner finally threw his hands up and was like, hey, big piece of this. Brett Yormark is a great salesman. There was some satisfaction. There was some satisfaction in that from me. Where it was look, it was just very apparent to me from the start. And I understand that I'm somebody that it behooved me to believe in Brett Yormark, the salesman, because it was going to help my league if he were a good salesman. But that doesn't mean that it was incorrect. And while there was some bias there in me wanting to believe that was correct. And it became more and more obvious throughout this entire process. Someone said to me the other day on Twitter, hey, I want to make sure John Kurtz gets his flowers basically for being the guy that said this could happen the whole time. And I was like, look, I'm just reacting to all the news here. The people who were breaking news and the stories and how it was unfolding, you give them credit before you give me credit. And all I did was just react to what I was seeing put out there and saying, the story is pretty clearly playing out here in a way where the Pac-12 is going to be in some trouble. And Brett Yormark is a dynamite salesman to sell what the Big 12 has to offer here. And it just seemed very obvious to me where all of it was going. But the Pac-12 side were a little bit slower to get there, and some on the national side. McMuffin, what's up, McMuffin? Right on target. McMuffin says our used car salesman secured $500 million in media rights for 16 universities. Need to build up these brands and attempt to close the revenue gap. Yeah, again, for the future, headed toward the future. This is where, okay, back to the 18 discussion, right? Jason Scheer tweets that Brett Yormark is probably going to get the go-ahead to try and explore 18, and that may wind up being basketball only, UConn and Gonzaga. Depending on how the finances work, I guess you do have to at some point, we kind of said this with Colorado, like, hey, Yormark got Colorado. Maybe now if he needs to play the UConn card, you can let him because he's built up some goodwill. Well, now he has secured you all four corners. And if he really wants to go for the kill and say, all right, let's make basketball the absolute biggest, baddest, best thing out there, he has put you in a position to where now the conversation can change to closing the revenue gap as opposed to before it was about survival. And that was a clear distinction between the path that the Big 12 took and the path that the Pac-12 took down this entire road, which is the Pac-12 tried to come out swinging like, hey, we're going to close this revenue gap. And that's why George Kliavkoff asked for $500 million at first, which was $50 million a team, which is a ridiculous ask. But the Pac-12 hubris got in the way. They overvalued themselves and thought this was going to be about closing the gap. Remember his comments at one point in time. I have crapped all over them a million times on this show. But he at one point said publicly, a real thing that was said, that they were going to catch the SEC and Big Ten financially at some point, which was asinine at the time. It's still asinine right now. And that was something I said, like, what is that? Like, what is, and I think it was actually probably even more serious than I treated it then because it represented where they were at. They thought they would close the gap on the Big Two instead of just fighting for their survival. Big 12 understood it was about survival. And that comes from being a league where you've almost died twice. You're used to this. This is not a shock to anybody around here. This is not a shock to anybody in the Big 12 that this could happen to a league and it could go down. The Big 12 has tasted its own blood before, right? They've tasted their own blood before, and they knew how to come out in a fight in this sort of scenario, fight for their lives. The Pac-12 did not as much. But now you're here. You've killed off one conference. It's gone. And so life begins anew. And now it is, all right, we are pretty secure. We definitely look like the third most stable conference out there in the country, ahead of the ACC, where they're going to have a mess to deal with. So even if the ACC does have bigger brands right now in Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, like they do. I wouldn't take that away from the ACC, but they've also got a lot of extracurricular activity to deal with. The one league outside of the Big Ten or SEC that can just sit there right now and look at like, hey, how do we try to close this gap? How do we try to get better? It's the Big 12 because you've taken care of the important things and built up that foundation. It's kind of like the hierarchy of needs, right? Hierarchy of needs like food, water, air, to breathe, like those things. If you get those taken care of, you can start thinking about the stuff higher up on the pyramid, which is like, am I having fun? Am I enjoying my life? Like, do I have family and friends? Like things like that. Well, the Big 12 has now built up the foundation of like, we're going to survive. We will survive. So now how do you start pushing that even forward more? And Yormark is not a guy that's going to stop. I would tell anybody here that they should not think that this is just going to like stop things right now. Yormark is going to keep his foot on the gas. Joseph, what's up, Joseph? Joseph Melendez here. I appreciate you, Joseph. He says, now the real fight begins. Florida State versus the contract they signed. Yeah, that one's going to get messy. That one's going to get very, very messy. I've talked about that a little bit already here, but we'll get into it in future videos. It's been a little off-putting from Florida State. Well, I have all of you here. Please like the video. 1,500 plus people in here. Please like the video if you have not. Free, easy way to support the channel. Leave a comment in the comment section before, during, or after. All of that stuff really helps as well. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing if you have not. Just hit that subscribe button. I go live typically twice a week. It's been much more frequently lately with everything happening, but typically live twice a week. I'll drop in some other content as well. It's a great place to be if you're into college football, into conference realignment. You'll get a Big 12 angle here from this channel. Would appreciate it if you did that. Robert, what's up, Robert? Robert says Utah's abbreviation is UT, and we all hate UT. The more things change, the more things stay the same. Wreck 'em. I don't know that I've seen UT a ton for Utah, but yes, I get what you're saying with the state abbreviation. That would slide in quite nicely. Slide in quite nicely. But I'll actually say this: like Utah, I'm not gonna come in just like guns a-blazing, totally hating you. I mean, your Twitter fan base maybe a little bit, but you're gonna have to earn some of that hate like on the field. All right, go win the league a couple of times. Maybe you'll still be able to go to the Rose Bowl. That's a question that's been raised by people. What happens to the Rose Bowl now? Would that appease Utah if they could still go lose the Rose Bowl every year by winning the Big 12? Would that make Utah fans feel better? We could go lose the Rose Bowl every year here in this league too. I kid a little bit there, but yeah, you gotta earn my hate on the field, Utah. You gotta earn my hate on the field. Christopher, what's up, Christopher? Christopher Like here says in the West, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, BYU. The North, Colorado, Kansas, K-State, Iowa State. The South, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor. The East, Houston, UCF, Cincinnati, West Virginia. Yeah, I mean, something like that could be possible. Again, I'm just going to repeat the same thing I've said a bunch of times. I remember this even going back to like some of the initial realignment discussions when the 4 new schools got added 2 years ago. I am not fascinated by like who's playing who, what the pods are, how you would do divisions, all that stuff. And I don't really think pods are a thing of the future. I would again guess that it's going to be protected rivalries. And either way, I just don't really get into, I don't care. I don't care that much about it. I understand some of you guys do, and I'm not knocking you for caring. Doesn't really interest me that much. But if you're talking about like how some of the protected rivalries could come out looking, or maybe it will be pods. I mean, I could be wrong. I do think those are sensible. I think those are sensible for sure. Thomas, what's up, Thomas? Thomas Gilbreth, thank you for being here, Thomas. Thomas says, so let's say that the ACC is the next domino to fall. Do you think we stay at our current 16, or do you see us at 18 or 20? Well, if the ACC does fall, yes, the Big 12 would absolutely be adding some from there. I think Louisville and Pitt are no-brainers. And then after that, like, does Virginia Tech find a landing spot in the SEC? NC State, are they going to go to the SEC or the Big Ten? Would they get a landing spot there? Those are schools that could be in play. Would you want Duke? I would think if Brett Yormark is still the commissioner by that point in time, he probably would, because he loves basketball and wants to make this as big a basketball property as possible. So Duke would seem to be in the mix for me because of that. Yes, I absolutely think the Big 12 would become involved there. And that is another thing to think about, even in the, are you going to expand to 18 right now and totally press all in? If you feel like the ACC is going to fall apart, it seems like Florida State, now their timeline may be moving back to more like 25 or 26. I don't think they're going to be able to get out for 24. So you'd have some time to kind of feel that one out. But maybe that would give you some pause on going to 18. Maybe not. But we'll see. I'm not convinced that the ACC is going to fall apart just right away. Zach, what's up, Zach? Zach says, thanks, Carl. I meant to send a super chat, but I've never done it before. Hey, we got you, Zach. Everybody picking up here. Zach, first super chat. Congratulations, Zach. Thank you for doing that. Much appreciate your support on the channel here, my friend. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting what it is that I do. Our web says, hate to point this out, John, but President Crow at Arizona State is an Iowa State alum. Do with that what you will. Oh, I'm well aware. I'm trying to be, listen, our web, I'm turning over a new leaf here. I guess I did make a snarky comment or two at Utah, but I was trying to be nicer to Utah. I'm also trying to be nicer to Iowa State, because they're going through the gambling thing right now. And one, that is tough. And I would like to say that it's all totally about compassion from me for Iowa State. But it really is actually more about, I think everybody in the country needs to be very worried about what's happening at Iowa State, because I think you're probably going to see those cases start popping up other places. Iowa was just ahead of the curve on that. And I know the state of Kansas is a gambling legal state, sports gambling anyway. So I'm not going to crush Iowa State too much while they're down. I'm not going to kick them while they're down too terribly much right now, because I know that some of that could be coming back on all of us. But yes, at our web, you knew that is right in my wheelhouse. Right in my wheelhouse. All right. Chat jumped on me here, so let me retreat and get back up. I will catch up to as much as I can. I may have missed a couple super chats here because of the way this chat works. If I did, DM me on Twitter at JLKurtz. I'm going to be checking the DMs. Get a screenshot of it, or just tell me what it was that you had, and I will make sure and answer that question. So I'm a T. Lawrence. T. Lawrence is the next one up here. That's the next one I got. T. Lawrence, I appreciate you. T. Lawrence said, you and I were right for a year, John. Pac-12 DOA. We were right. Now, I'm not sure that I the whole time would have predicted it was outright going to die, but it was like flashing the warning signs the whole time. I was certainly believing the warning signs for the Pac-12 there. Again, if I missed your super chat because the chat jumped on me and I can't get all the way back up to it, if I missed it, DM me on Twitter at JLKurtz, and I will read it as well. David, what's up, David? David says, how do you think K-State stacks up to Utah and BYU in football? Interesting question there. I appreciate it, David. Well, BYU clearly has more of a brand in football. Utah and K-State, I feel like, are similar-ish places where there have been a lot of football games. Like Kyle Whittingham reminds me a lot of Bill Snyder, a guy who can kind of do more with less. And I understand. Look, I saw a Utah fan going off about the recruiting rankings lately and where they'd rank in the Big 12. I'm not saying Utah doesn't recruit well. They recruit perfectly fine for the level that they're at, but it's not like a roster full of USC out there that he's going and kicking USC's ass with every year. So I feel like there are some similarities there. And I think, like, right now, I mean, look, K-State had a great year last year. I think Chris Kleiman is on track to perhaps do some things like what Kyle Whittingham has done. But Whittingham has the more experience, proven track record right now. So if I'm being like, Utah comes into this new league as, I mean, it's a good debate. It's a healthy debate on who has the best brand there. So, I think K-State is in a better position than BYU right now. Maybe not Utah overall with the football program, but similar. And I think Utah, like, recent trajectory definitely has, or recent history definitely has been better overall than K-State, even though K-State's had a pretty solid program. Eric, what's up, Eric? Imagine 6 years ago if you said the Big 12 would be alive and healthy without Texas and Oklahoma. It is a wild time to be alive. It sure is. Imagine if you would have said that to me 2 years ago. Would have not suspected that at all, man. We literally were doing shows here feeling like I felt like I was going to be the guy reporting from the graveside of the Big 12, and instead I'm the guy reporting from the, not reporting, but commenting from the site of the Pac-12 gravesite, which is pretty wild. Jim, what's up, Jim? Jim says the 8 new schools enable the Big 12 to replace the 5 million TV viewers lost when Texas and Oklahoma leave, go from 1 school to 5 in the top 20 media markets, and raise the school's academic average 15 places with the U.S. News reports. Jim, have you been hired by Karen? Are you? All hail Lord Karen. All hail Lord Karen. It sounds to me, Jim, and thank you for your support, by the way, that you have been hired by Endeavor and you are in on this whole thing too, because that is some great propaganda work. Really, it's just a great way to, I mean, it's not propaganda, it's reality, but it's a great way to sell the new league. Yes, I mean, I love, like, Arizona State, Phoenix, and Tucson. That's a lot of people coming with that. 1 million people even in the Tucson metro area. A lot of people bringing in an entire state. You've got the whole freaking state of Utah right now with Utah and BYU locked into that new league, man. That's another growing population center. It's just wonderful. Obviously, bringing Denver back into the fold will help, although, I mean, where does Colorado actually rank in that? I'm not sure. But, yes, that is still, even if it's not the most important thing, that's still a nice thing to have. The academic stuff, again, it's a nice to have in conference realignment. You can ask some folks that make charts quite a bit about academics, how the academics actually went in holding things together for a conference, but it is still a nice thing to have if you can. And the TV viewers definitely matter. TV viewers definitely matter. So that is very well done. Very well done, Jim. Thank you for that. Nate, what's up, Nate? Nate Simons, appreciate you, my friend. Nate asks, is there any truth to Oregon State asking to join as a half-share member, or ESPN pushing to go to 18 so they can get back on the West Coast now that Fox owns the major brands? I mean, I've seen the second one. I've seen the second thing mentioned, ESPN pushing to go to 18 so they can get back on the West Coast. They're upset with Fox right now. Obviously, Oregon and Washington going to the Big Ten. Fox would be the Big Ten property there. I don't know. No, I mean, truthfully, like, I have no idea. I do not know. I don't have, not only do I not try to claim to be inside source guy, I've also been, even if I did, I've been on vacation. So I have not been, like, plugged into people telling me things. I don't know. It would seem to me that would just be a bad bet. But Jason Scheer's tweet about, hey, Brett Yormark's probably going to get authorized to try and go up to 18. Maybe that does open the door for an Oregon State and Washington State. I don't know. I mean, I saw MH. It's MH version 3, by the way. I did some reporting. Here is the reporting I did for you guys. I DM'd MH version 3 and asked, hey, how am I supposed to pronounce this when I talk about you on YouTube? And he said MH version 3. So MH version 3, I think, was the one that had the part about ESPN wanting to get back on the West Coast. So I don't know. Those guys have been more well-sourced than I throughout this process. I would just say that's up to you, whether or not you want to buy it or not. I just can't see how Oregon State and Washington State would make sense from a financial standpoint. And I think Brett Yormark is probably going to want to go the basketball route right now to take care of both things. Because back to that conversation about now you can kind of change the paradigm here and not worry about surviving, but growing and changing that, closing that revenue gap. Basketball is going to be a big part of that. Basketball is a huge part of that, where going back months, I've said, I think Brett Yormark really thinks he can get an extra, whatever the number might be, $5 to $10 million maybe. And that perhaps that's a crazy high number, but more for the league per school if you separate out the basketball contract and do that separately. And, now if you're looking at the next TV contract, all those facts that we just got from Jim a minute ago about the league and how it's improved, and then you're going to have this crazy, crazy basketball brand to sell. And if you make an extra couple million out of the football piece than what you're making right now, and an extra couple million, if we're talking about an extra $10 million per school, the next TV contract, that would be nice. I don't know how much that's actually cutting the gap because eventually the Big Ten and the SEC will renegotiate deals too. But you're definitely trying, and you're doing everything that you can to do that. And now you have a little bit more leniency probably to go chase that. Corey, what's up, Corey? Appreciate your support, Corey. Thank you for being here. Corey Erickson is a Utah fan. Here we go. Utah fan in the chat. Thank you, Corey, for being here, and thank you for your support. Corey says, I hope the rest of us Utah fans will be able to remove the stink of the noisy jerks who have been trashing the Big 12. Real fans have been wanting to join BYU and play our real rival again. New challenges ahead. I love that, Corey. Thank you for that. Great attitude to have from Corey. And this is why, again, I understand it's been noisy Utah fans on Twitter. We sometimes can get too locked into that being the real world. And when I say we, I am at the forefront of that. So don't think that that's me trying to absolve myself of responsibility. So I'm trying to take a step back here now that Utah is in the league. Now that this is all over, the tensions are not running as hot and as high as they were for a long time now that we have finality here, right? So yes, well, I welcome you guys. I welcome Utah fans into the chat. Spread the word, let all your Utah fan friends know, Corey. Post it on the boards. Get it in those Facebook, Twitter groups, Instagram, whatever it might be. Let them know about the channel, and let's continue getting more Utah fan flavor in here. And by the way, on that note, please like the video if you have not. Totally free to do so. And if you are new here, make sure to click subscribe. I go live twice a week. Typically, it's been more often than that with all the realignment craziness going on. But I would appreciate it if you did subscribe. You get conference realignment, Big 12 content on a week-in, week-out basis here on this channel. Casey, what's going on, Casey? Casey says, the pompous pack is over. God bless them, everyone. For real, though, excited for the new schools in the conference. Going to be a battle top to bottom. It is absolutely going to be a battle. That is, I go back to, this is going to be the most fun conference in the country. The Big Ten will have more money. They'll have bigger brands. They'll be able to say Big 2 and look down on the Big 12. But the Big 12 is going to be a more fun football league, undoubtedly, than the Big 10. Milky Delight. I like that name. What's up, Milky Delight? Milky Delight is a Texas fan. We got Utah fans and Texas fans in here right now celebrating a massive day in college athletics. I saw Dennis Dodd right before I hopped on here on Twitter called it the most significant day in college sports history. And there's an argument for it. I'd have to really think about that, like what days would have been more important, but there's a good argument for it. Milky Delight says, Texas Longhorn here. You're doing a great job. Well, thank you, Milky Delight. So glad to see the Big 12 making moves. Honestly, not the happiest about the SEC move. We'll always cheer and support the Big 12. Milky Delight, what a first super chat, my friend. Let me take my generic hotel coffee cup and cheers you with that. Thank you for it, Milky Delight. If you're Texas and Oklahoma, there probably has to be it's got to be like a little element of looking down, kind of proud of little brother there, right? You fancy yourself as Texas or Oklahoma, the big brother, for sure. I get it. But you're leaving, and now look, little bro's figuring some things out. Little bro's figuring some things out on his own. He's growing up a little bit since you left. Thank you, though. Truly do appreciate the support. Joe, what's up, Joe? Joe says, I am laughing my arse off because UCF is rubbing it in Florida State's face about being in the Big 12, getting more money in the Big 12. Dude, I'm here for that argument. Man, somebody direct me. It's at J.O. Kurtz on Twitter. Somebody direct me to the tweets where that is happening, because that sounds fantastic. Just delightful. Florida State fans who are now probably about to get in bed with the Saudis to finance their football team and finance just a massive amount of money that they're going to have to pay to get out of their league. having to take crap because UCF is going to make more money than them. You know, that's one of the things that is driving this. Like they would not want to live with that, man. UCF making more money than us. I love it. I love it. Get after him, UCF Twitter. Get after him. Jerry, what's up, Jerry? I appreciate you, Jerry. Thank you for the support. Jerry Davis here. Which non-football school joins Gonzaga in the new Big 12? Will it be Marquette, St. John's, Villanova, Georgetown, or UConn without football? It's a pretty easy one, Jerry. I would say if you're giving me Gonzaga as one and you're saying there has to be another, who's it going to be? It's going to be UConn. Brett Yormark really likes UConn. Even if the rest of the league isn't totally keen on it, that's the one that I'm sure he will be working on the most. Scott Cherubino, what's up, Scott? Appreciate you, Scott. Keep up the great work. Let's go, Mountaineers. Hey, you know what? I love this for West Virginia fans. Getting a bit of a win, realignment, because one, like I know times are tough in Morgantown right now a little bit, although it seems like they did a pretty good job kind of recouping the basketball roster. But times have been tough with what's going on with Huggins and Neil Brown continuing to flounder with the football program. But you get a dub. You get a dub today. And in this latest round of realignment, which realignment has not always gone West Virginia's way. I know that I don't need to tell you guys twice about that. So I'm happy. I'm happy on that note for West Virginia fans to pick up a win today. All right, this jumped ahead on me once again, and I may have missed one or two. I know that I just had one that it popped away from me. I'm sorry I didn't grab that. If I missed your super chat, please DM me on Twitter at @JLKurtz. When we get this many people in the chat, and I promise you I will work on a solution if this is going to continue happening. I doubt that it will be quite to this level, but right now we just have overloaded chats. If I missed your super chat, DM me on Twitter at @JLKurtz, JLKURTZ. I will make sure to get to it. Or if you even do it and like the show's over or whatever, I will work it into the next show for sure. If you just let me know what it is. So please do. I'm not trying to screw anybody out of that. And I sincerely appreciate all of you guys who are supporting this right now. Greg, what's up, Greg? Greg says, been following you since your days in Manhattan on the game. Keep your really good and consistent work. Aren't you glad President Kirk imploded in Pullman and not in Manhattan? Yes, I am, Greg, and thank you for the kind words. Shout out to the game radio show where I cut my teeth for the better part of a decade in Manhattan. Fond memories there. And yes, I am glad that Kirk Schultz went down with the ship in Pullman. If you do want to feel some empathy or sympathy for Kirk Schultz, he was the president at K-State when Texas damn near took the entire Big 12 over to the Pac-12 and killed off K-State. Then he goes to Washington State and it ends up actually happening. So he has had a rough go of it, right? And if we are, I was thinking about this earlier, like villains and all this, and all, Kirk Schultz was just he found a puppet. Like he found a puppet in John Canzano who was going to just parrot whatever he said. So of course he went to him and did that over and over again. And we can vilify him for that, I guess, but he needed it desperately for survival. That's an athletic department that is in the red that needed money very badly and needed this to work out. And now it is not going to work out. And he was just trying to do whatever he could. I really don't begrudge him for that at the end of the day. I will say that. Steve, what's up, Steve? Steve, just with a nice congrats. Steve Cox, thank you, sir. First super chat from you. Thank you for your support and for hopping in there. A celebratory cheers to you, Steve. This is to you, my friend. Cameron, what's up, Cameron? Cameron says the schools less West Virginia, Cincinnati, Central Florida is very regional. Cameron, I'm not fully understanding the wavelength that you're on right there with that one, but I got the Rock Chalk Jayhawk there at the end. The schools less West Virginia, Cincinnati, UCF is very regional. And I'm sorry, I said Central Florida there. UCF fans, I said Central Florida because it was just listed as CF. All right, so I was reading it like the way it was spelled out there. I should have just gone with the full UCF. I understand that. I do understand that. Warrior Pride 65. What's up, Warrior Pride 65? Warrior Pride 65's got a good question that, frankly, I just don't really care about very much. And it was a good question to ask, Warrior Pride. But I don't care about Cal and Stanford. Your question is, what happens to Cal and Stanford? Who cares? Of all the people in this, like, I feel very badly for Oregon State and Washington State. I do not feel badly for Cal and Stanford. And, like, I don't know. I saw Dan Wolken going off on like, this is unacceptable that Cal, because of X, Y, and Z, doesn't get to participate in majors. I mean, okay, whatever. Like when we're talking about the ivory tower attitude that's come from the Pac-12, doesn't get much more ivory tower than Cal and Stanford. They'll be fine. They have massive endowments. Those universities will be fine. They don't care about athletics anyway. I covered a K-State game in 2016 at Stanford when they had Christian McCaffrey, and they were awesome, and the stadium was like 30% full. I don't care what happens to Cal and Stanford. I don't know, though, to like really truly answer your question. I don't know. Stanford will probably go independent. I don't know if Cal can do that. I don't know if they would bring themselves to merge with the Mountain West and whatever that the rest of that conference is going to be. I have no idea. It'll be an interesting one to follow for sure. Matthew, what's up, Matthew? Matthew says Arizona versus K-State, the cat fight. Yep, that'll be a good rivalry to add to it. Cat fight. I think I've seen maybe even some other names for that. Will, what's up, Will? Will, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Will says the Big East gets $4 million a year for basketball when their conference tournament ratings are below the American and Mountain West. Big 12 could make a killing with basketball rights. That's good info, Will. That's good info to have. Did you get that from, was that an Endeavor tidbit? Was that an Endeavor tidbit from Karen? All hail Lord Karen. All hail Lord Karen. Big East gets $4 million a year for basketball. All right. Well, that would lend some credence. I've been trying to keep that number at like 5-ish, 5 to 10 mil that I thought maybe the Big 12 could add if they would decouple. That's the term I need to start using. Decouple the basketball and football rights. That would seem to be in line with that. That makes me feel better about it. Troy, we got a second one. Arizona and K-State will be a Wildcat fight. We're loving the Wildcat fight here. Troy, we'll get that Wildcat fight going for you, I'm sure, very soon. PB, thank you for the support, PB. First super chat from PB. Everybody give it up to PB. Thank you, sir. PB says, I'm just dying to know what is going through George Kliavkoff's mind right now. It's not a good night. Not a good night for him at all. Guys, this is saying I'm a little bit of a softie. I had a little moment where I'm like, and even when I think about that right now, I'm like, I don't want to like indulge in George Kliavkoff personally, whatever is happening tonight, like whatever place he is in tonight. And I have thought a couple times here late in this, much like I was saying with like the Kirk Schultz thing, we kind of vilified him when tensions were really high and it was easy to get mad, but he just found his puppet. Like George Kliavkoff was trying to do whatever he could to save his league. And some of the reporting behind the scenes has seemed to indicate to me that, like, again, the problem may have really been the presidents of the Pac-12, and that could have really kneecapped him and handicapped him. Now, when you start then publicly challenging Brett Yormark and basically talking S in the public, then it makes it a little bit harder for me to be super sad for you. But I have some of that. I have some of that in me for George Kliavkoff, and he was a guy that was thrown into a space that he was not a guy that grew up in college athletics, right? So that was probably a little bit difficult for him to learn that world. That'll be it. I have been to me, it all comes down to, again, the characterizations of these. We're mad at two people here. Two, maybe I'd say like 3 to 4-ish people, right? I mean, here's the basis of it. If you take fan Twitter out of it, because we could throw Utah Twitter on that list, other Pac-12 fans Twitter, we're really just mad at Canzano, Altimore, and to an extent Mandel, and for some to an extent Wilner. I never really had that much of a problem with Wilner. Mandel at least has repented a little bit here recently. But then Canzano and Wilmore obviously have been like all in with the Pac-12 thing the whole time. That's really who we didn't like. And it was just other characters kind of just became a part of it and a part of the hatred because they were supplying information or just kind of tangentially involved there. That's really what this is. So I'm going to try and not completely relish in George Kliavkoff like crying into his beer tonight. Dabo Sweeney, 805 winning percentage, says UConn football is a money loser and an embarrassment. Well, UConn football is not good. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like UConn football guy and stand up for UConn football. Even if you want to say, hey, they're making some progress, I mean, it's not enough for me to feel great about UConn football. You'd be asking them for basketball. But now, back to Scheer's comment, Jason Scheer said Big 12 likely going to authorize Brett Yormark to look to go to 18 and potentially 2 basketball-only members. If UConn now becomes basketball-only, totally different convo for me. That would be great, but I don't know that UConn is going to do that. Sir Badger, what's up, Sir Badger? Without the Pac-12, will this mean that the smaller conferences will get 2 auto bids in a 12-team college football playoff? Top 6 champions get an auto bid. We are Marshall. Okay, Marshall fan. Will it mean the smaller conferences get 2 auto bids? No, I don't think there would be auto bids, but it is interesting you say top 6 champions. If we're going to start consolidating conferences, do they go back and try to rework that? Maybe it becomes, I guess I would say it this way. You would see an extra at-large slot added before you would see guarantees for any of the other conferences to get 2 auto bids. And like the idea with that being, if you just make it an at-large, the SEC and the Big Ten, particularly like the SEC where Sankey holds so much power right now, they're just going to say, well, we'll just get more teams in. So just make it an extra at-large spot. I think that's really where you would go with that, I would imagine. David, what's up, David? David, great to see you here. David says, Kurtz, as an Iowa State fan, we really need to appreciate the day. Thinking back to how close K-State and Iowa State was to being on the outside looking in. Man, I remember it. I remember I've been through 2 rounds of this. I was just starting my career. I was still in college when the Nebraska-Missouri A&M wave happened. And I was interning at Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City, covering meetings, like waiting for Tom Osborne, staked outside of boardrooms for hours. Like, I can remember that. I can remember the talk that it was going to turn into like K-State, Iowa State, KU, someone else. Like, we're going to go to the Big East. I remember that. And then I remember just being totally scared. Like, I don't see any solution that's in any way appetizing at all 2 years ago. And look, since then, like, look at the year K-State had this past year, won the Big 12 in football, went to the Elite Eight in basketball. We know that K-State can compete at that level, but if you take away the opportunity there with the conference affiliation, it gets pretty dire. So, yeah, I feel you, David. I feel you. And that is, again, why my heart does ache for Oregon State and Washington State. And that's my pretty hard and fast rule on Twitter has been like, if I see any of them running down the Big 12 or talking down the Big 12, they can have it. That's fine. They get that moment. They get that because it's brutal for them. And I would not expect them to be saying nice things about the Big 12 at all right now. They are totally fine. So that would be my message to everybody here too. Like, don't go crush Oregon State and Washington State fans right now if they're saying anything negative about the league. Not the time. Not the time. Lexington and Concord. What's up, Lexington and Concord? Here's an OU fan. OU fan here. Still going to cheer on the Big 12 for years to come. Glad you guys have a solid-looking future. Hey, cheers to that. That should be where we all get, with at least Oklahoma, right? At least Oklahoma, I could find myself kind of getting there and being like, look, you competitively subsidized this conference for a long time. You're moving on to bigger and better things in the SEC, going up to play with the big boys. That's fine. Texas has not competitively subsidized the league. They've been a huge thorn in the side of the league from the beginning. They have driven people away. They've made it difficult to do much of anything while being a 7-5 football program. Not going to get there with Texas. Oklahoma, there can be more respect from me on that. So I'm with you there. Rob, what's up, Rob? Rob, not only was the Pac deal way worse than the Big 12 deal, Oregon and Washington will get less in the Big 10 than the Four Corners will get in the Big 12 LMAO. That is another pretty funny part of this, man. I guess I don't know, like, officially what the Big 10 figure is going to be, because I saw a beat reporter for Oregon say that it would be more like 35, but Adam Rittenberg from ESPN says sources confirm Matt Fortuna report that new Big 10 members, Oregon and Washington, will enter the league at a reduced revenue share of around $30 million, which would increase by $1 million a year each year during the current media rights deal. That's low. That's pretty low. Someone asked me a couple live shows ago, will Oregon's monetary number be better in the Big 10 than it would be in the Big 12? And I said I thought yes, because I thought it would be maybe like a 60-70% sort of deal from what the Big 10 figure is. But 30 million is lower than I anticipated. And yes, technically, if that's it, lower than the Big 12. That's crazy, man. Arizona State, and Utah make off like bandits to get a little bit of extra money in the Big 12. Friendly Lukey Tube. What's up, Friendly Lukey Tube? Big 12 traded Oklahoma, Texas for BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State. Never would have seen it. As a BYU fan, I'm glad the Holy War is on every year again. I could not be more happy about that. And I need to get to a Holy War game. I would love to go to one of those games. I'm sure Utah fans would be thrilled to host me, right? BYU fans, I know you guys got my back and would host me easily, but Utah fans, can we work that out? Can we Can we get me to a Holy War game, like the primo seats of Utah? Can I sit next to Mark Harlan, who got me on Freezing Cold Takes? This is Mark Harlan. I appreciate so much, the athletic director of Utah, because his old tweet to me not only was fun to go back and revisit today, but it got me on Freezing Cold Takes without being the guy with the freezing cold take. Because if you missed it, Mark Harlan had, let me just pull it up. Let me just pull it up for you. I've got a super chat I'm going to get to from the Twitter DMs too as I pop in here and see this. But it was back in December. I had forgotten it was this long ago because it was right around conference championship game time. Feel like I'm getting close here. Here we go. Okay. So December 6th, 2022. I tweeted the Pac-12 had a standalone game on a Friday night with huge playoff implications, and their biggest brand that is leaving soon playing and was almost 3.5 million viewers behind two non-Oklahoma Texas Big 12 teams. Mark Harlan quote tweeted that and said, "We are not leaving." A nice double entendre there of reinforcing support for the Pac-12 and also saying I was insinuating USC was the big brand there, and he was saying, no, we are the big brand. So I came back and just said, "Hi, Mark," today, which was fun. But that original tweet of his, "We are not leaving," got on Freezing Cold Takes. And then my name gets to be there on Freezing Cold Takes, and I soak it up, and everyone's like, "Oh, look, that guy was smart. Mark Harlan looks like the fool." So that actually worked out. No hard feelings at all, Mark. I appreciate that you did that and had some fun on Twitter, honestly. So, look, we can work it out. Mark, just talk to me. We'll figure it out. We'll get me to a Utah football game, and everything will be good. Okay, from the DMs, a super chat that got skipped earlier. Okay, JLB319 says, this is the super chat I sent. Give me your top 3 new rivalries. 1, Holy War. 2, K-State versus Colorado. 3, Texas Tech versus Arizona schools. That's a good one. Like Tech against the Arizona schools from way back in the day. I know that'll be a really fun one too. I mean, the Holy War is far and away number 1. I would still go Arizona State, I think, number 2 in terms of like new rivalries you're getting. TCU, Utah, I know that there is bad blood there. I'm seeing that one brought up. And you know what? I might just move that into the number 3 spot because I've seen how chirpy TCU fans can get because it's been pretty chirpy with TCU and K-State here over the last year. I think obviously fueled by the Big 12 championship game. So I would actually look forward to that one because I've seen how both of those fan bases, I've seen how chirpy that they can be. And so I'm looking forward to seeing them go after each other. Good morning, USA. What is up, Good Morning, USA? Good Morning, USA is here very much after the morning because this is YouTube Live After Dark. Good Morning, USA says, can we once and for all see the last of Canzano, Altimore, and the whole Pac-12 and on fake news machine? Guess what, gents? The Big 12 wins and shows how fake y'all are. Go Cougs, welcome Utes begrudgingly. It'll be interesting to see what happens with those guys. Like, I legitimately feel, and this is, most of you won't really like, this is not playing to my base. This is showing some humanity here. But another thought I had today, one of the things I was really feeling 2 years ago when Texas and Oklahoma left was that was before I left the radio industry on a full-time basis. So my entire livelihood was still based on talking about K-State sports and covering K-State sports. Whereas now it's more the side hustle, still something that I enjoy immensely. But at the time, like, that was the livelihood. And I had these thoughts like, man, everyone's grave dancing here. And this is potentially our livelihood that's going away. Like, that was where a lot of the anger came from on a personal level. Just like, come on, man. So again, that's why, like, at least with like John Wilner, I mean, it's the Pac-12 hotline. I mean, I hope that things work out. He's a great journalist, and I'm sure he's doing fine and doesn't need my help or sympathy or any of that. But I'm not going to, like, jump around and be like, oh, what is Wilner going to write about right now? Because that is like a legitimate – I don't know exactly what he does there, and I wish him nothing but the best. I do respect him. I think he is a good journalist. Like Canzano, I mean, it's whatever. He's doing his own thing, and that's the person I've thought has done the least work journalistically in all of this. And I mean, Altimore, it's whatever. He's, kind of a different category there. But I will at least extend some humanity there to the, people who have based their livelihoods on covering these things. Like, if you're running like an Oregon State fan site right now, this is tough. That's going to be likely bad for business. And I genuinely feel for people in those positions. Rob, what's up, Rob? Rob, wish we had stopped at 14 with just CU and Arizona. ASU president and Utah fans are toxic. George Kliavkoff fleeced the pack for $7 million to come up with streaming for $20 million. Well, I would just encourage you to try and be accepting here of Utah and Arizona State. I think, we're going to kind of have to now. The Big 12's biggest strength has been how unified it is. You don't want splinters to occur. And I'm not saying that us on all 1,400 of us here in a YouTube live chat can like change the world and change the Big 12 here. But I think, in terms of setting the tone, let's just get a reset. Everybody start here differently. Like this was, getting a lot for the perspective for Utah fans. The Pac-12 had worked out swimmingly for them. They were winning the thing. They were beating up on USC. They got cool road trips to go play in these big places, and they were going to Rose Bowls. Like they wanted that thing to stick together. That made a lot of sense for them. I understand how then in the heat of the moment, you don't want that to happen. You don't want to believe people that are saying that could all come crashing down. Let's give them a reset. Things were heated in the heat of battle. Now you're going to go play on the same team. I would kind of liken it to like, college rivals getting drafted and then playing on the same team in the NBA or the NFL, whatever. You may have hated the dude in college, but now you're on the same team. You gotta figure it out. Yeah. Anyway, I've seen a couple examples of that with K-State recently. One being the Toronto Raptors, where Grady Dick and Marquise Noel are all of a sudden playing together, right? You gotta give someone a chance now that you're on the same team and see how everyone's going to react. Because maybe this turns into what you're talking about with Utah fans. All of a sudden now they're going to become vehement Big 12 defenders here in a couple of years, and that works for you. So just keep that in mind. Bry Guy, what's up, Bry Guy? Bry Guy 2724. Bry Guy 2724 says, looking at a map of new schools, could you see looking at more Eastern schools to pair with West Virginia, UCF, and Cincinnati? Or are we committed West now? No, I mean, I think that'll happen eventually, but you're just going to have to wait for the ACC. Like, there's really nothing to do but just wait for the ACC to blow up. And I don't foresee that actually happening anytime soon, no matter what Florida State, what kind of tantrum they're going to try and throw here. Just don't see that happening real soon. Grove Nasty, what's up, Grove Nasty? Grove Nasty says, hey, John, EMA, can't wait to see how hilarious all this realignment looks by the next NCAA video game. Cats by 90. That's a funny comment, man. By the next NCAA video game, we may just be in like conference Pangea. Everything stuck there. Just one league, just one big league, and then we'll have to redivide everything up by region to play games. In all seriousness, maybe that's the end goal at some point. This does go a little too far, and we have to kind of redistribute things, but we'll see. Jerry, what's up, Jerry? Jerry says, very nice that the Southwest Conference will show the Pac-12 around down in football conference hell. Hey, Southwest Conference dissolved. Pac-12 is now dissolved. I can understand if you're a Southwest Conference vet, kind of not perhaps having as much empathy or sympathy in this situation. Carson, what's up, Carson? Carson says Magnificent Seven gets their 8th vote before the 15th. Yeah, that would be to dissolve the ACC. We should continue to monitor the 15th. We should continue to monitor that, but I'm still skeptical that anything is going to happen there yet. Florida State has clearly started to posture as much as they can. I am skeptical of their ability to pull it off. There was a report. I had it on a list that I was going to try and do a video of a couple days ago and didn't get to it here on the vacay. There was a report that the SEC is like not really into it. And I know the Big Ten had been the rumor for Florida State, but like now the Big Ten went and added Oregon and Washington, who were schools coming in at a reduced share because they weren't going to be additive enough. Florida State can tout that they're the 12th biggest brand in college football all they want. They're not going to be additive for the Big Ten either. So I don't know what the appetite is going to be out there necessarily for Florida State unless that conference does totally come crashing down. D-Day, Big 12 basketball tourney in KC will be awesome. Yes, it will. Basketball is going to be a complete freaking juggernaut. There is no going back from that now for sure. Troy, what's up, Troy? I'm for K-State and whoever is playing Texas. I think you and everybody else in this league. That is what the reaction is going to be this year for the Longhorns. Peter B, what's up, Peter B? As an Oklahoma fan, I'm excited for the Big 12's future. Hope to still play some of our old new Big 12 rivals. Peter, very kind of you. I'm every Texas and Oklahoma fan that does that here today. You're going to get a cheers from me in my hotel coffee cup in my police interrogation video here. But I appreciate that, Peter. Sincerely do. Sincerely do. And hopefully this just works out for the best for basically everybody involved here. Jimmy, what's up, Jimmy? We've got an Arizona fan in here. First super chat from Jimmy Lee. Thank you kindly for your support. We are glad that you're here. Jimmy says, from one Wildcat, Arizona to another, I hope you are ready to wear short sleeves and shorts in Tucson for November football games. You'll love it. Dude, I am so ready for that. I am so ready for that. I have sat through some cold games. About the coldest I've ever been in my life was 2014 K-State, West Virginia. I'm in Morgantown, West Virginia. I think that game was on a Thursday. That was as cold as I've ever been in my life, and you deal with a lot of that in the Big 12. So I'm here for it, Jimmy. I'm here for it. I'm ready to get a tour of Tucson. I'm ready for all of it. All of it, all of it, all of it. K-Do, what's up, K-Do? Thank you for your support. K-Do says, what do you think happens to the Pac-12 network? Do you think the Big 12 should pursue it? Can't imagine what Yormark can do with his own network. Yeah, I don't. The conference network thing, I don't think that's going to be something you see. Again, I guess I could be wrong. It feels like the model for those is kind of a little bit obsolete at this point, that would probably not be the way that you would want to go. I mean, I'm sure Yormark is going to have some ideas about how to promote all that. I'm not sure that it will include a conference network. And I don't even know. I mean, I'll just level with you, be honest. Like, it's over my head, like, whether or not you could go take control of the Pac-12 network. Like, I have no idea. And the Pac-12 may still – the other thing you'd have to think about is, like, the Pac-12 may do some sort of merging with the Mountain West. I don't know how all that's going to shake out. Would it still have the Pac-12 branding? Is, like, will Kliavkov still be involved? I don't know. I think there's a lot to determine there as to, like, whether or not that would even be available technically. Provo Cougar fan. What's up, Provo Cougar fan? Provo Cougar fan says, John, wait until 2025 for your Holy War trip where you will be appreciated and treated with respect at BYU. Okay, Provo Cougar fan. Well, listen, Provo Cougar fan, you guys know, like, I would go to BYU first, obviously. But I just have to – I feel like it's going to take a while to get the tide to turn on Utah there. So I got to start planting that seed with Mark Harlan now, and hopefully eventually that comes on back around. Darth Bowser, what's up, Darth Bowser? Darth Bowser, switch horns down for use down. Go Cougs. Use down, okay. Can you do that, like, with your – I'm trying to think, like hand signs, right? Because we obviously had the Texas hand sign, but you could do like it's like a U and then I don't know. Aglist, okay, Aglist. I'm sorry I missed your chat earlier. I am sorry, Aglist. Again, if I missed your super chat, just DM me on Twitter at JLKurtz, like JLB319 did. Let me know, because this has skipped in a couple of spots where I think I have missed a couple. If I did miss, you can hit me up on Twitter, wherever. Just let me know about it. Aglist, sorry I missed your earlier chat. Followed your show since dark days of OU and Texas leaving. Redemption. That is right, Aglist. I know, Alan, I know you've been around since the beginning, and I genuinely appreciate the support of the channel. Really, really do. Thank you for being here, and so many of you who I continue to see night after night on this channel that have been through it all, over the last 2 years. 105 days till the Sunflower Showdown. Let's get it, Alan. That's going to be a great one. That will be a great one this year. Robert, do you think Wilner still has Pac-12 survival favored by 5 points? Come on, John. A little. Okay, I always Schadenfreude or Schadenfreude. I don't know. I always mess. I used to say it one way, and then someone told me I was botching the pronunciation. But basically, taking pleasure in others' pain. Little taking pleasure in others' pain is okay on a day like today. There's been a little bit of that. But I also, the human part of it comes across through me a little bit also. Now that it's like here and final. It's like we won, and it's basically been like a 2-week-long celebration because you kind of knew that this was coming after the Colorado thing became official. So I've gotten a decent amount of it out of my system. Also, legit, it's real. This is how we all are. When it's behind a keyboard on Twitter, it leans snarkier a lot of times than it does like in person, because it's just easier to let the snark go if you're just throwing it out there on Twitter. So, but I appreciate it, Robert, giving me some permission to just come out and vent here. Rob, what's up, Rob? Rob says, point and laugh at KU people who thought going to the Big Ten was their future. If Oregon can't get a full share, KU couldn't get 10%. Well, that is probably something to think about. Oregon and Washington are getting $30 million. They're getting less, as someone pointed out. They're going to start out making less money than the new Four Corner schools coming into the Big 12. That is a part of the, I think, kind of harsh reality of it right now. We've also seen like Cal and Stanford were considered. Florida State and Clemson have been talked about with the Big Ten. Lots of schools talked about that are not Kansas. That is a good thing, by the way, Rob, for the future of the league right now, that you don't want people getting a bunch of wandering eyes. Kansas fans will still certainly have it, but it doesn't seem like it's a reality as of now. Again, Kansas, because of the basketball, to a lesser extent because of the AAU, if things do start getting very, very broad, very wide for the Big Ten, they go to a huge number. I mean, that possibility is always going to be out there, but it does not. We've really seen nothing tangible at all suggesting that would be within the realm of possibility. And I did see that it was the 2-year anniversary either a day or two ago of the KU to the Big Ten is imminent report. So we do have that as well. StatCat, what's up, StatCat? StatCat says, I'm sorry the Big 12 community has to be subjugated to Utah. They'll act like the next Texas with no brand or money to back them up. Yeah, but StatCat, they will have more winning than Texas. Like, that's part of the problem. I think they will have more winning than Texas. They may not have the brand, but they will have the winning. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm turning over a new leaf with Utah. We're going to try and start from a more positive place here, okay? Joseph, what's up, Joseph? I appreciate you, Joseph. Fellow Texas fan. Texas fan coming here. You know, you get the cheers. Cheers to you, Joseph. Joseph Melendez says, as a Texas fan, you'd be surprised how many Texas fans love the Big 12. You'd also be surprised how many fans hate the same things you do about Texas. It's kind of like having a family member with a gambling problem. Okay, well, I can appreciate that. I will take your word for it, Joseph. Most of what I see is the stuff that I don't like as much, but we say this about a lot of fan bases. Most of the time, you get the percentage of the fan base that is a little bit off-putting, particularly on Twitter. It can skew that way. So maybe we should soften the stance, and maybe I think it will probably just soften with time without them in the league and doing their own thing. Everybody now, look, Texas wanted it. You want to play with the big boys, even though you can't really win with the little boys in the Big 12. You got it. Go play with the big boys, do your thing, be with the biggest brands. Oklahoma, you have been winning. Go test yourself against the biggest brands, make it happen. And the Big 12 gets to now have a really, really fun league. Neilio, what's up, Neilio? Neilio says, just got home from Little O'Dowd's for some Friday night dinner, and bam, a bonus Kurtz chat. Great way to start a weekend. Great stuff as usual, my friend. Hashtag Let's Go Cats. Thank you, Neilio. Love you. Love your support. Thank you for being here. And love the comment, man. Glad that I could liven up a Friday night here as everybody hangs out on, I almost said Pac-12 After Dark. I'm sorry, Pac-12. It is YouTube Live After Dark here. YouTube Live After Dark, not Pac-12 After Dark. I'm not going to be that mean to the Pac-12 here. Cameron, new Big 12. Hateful Eight and Grateful Eight. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. That's pretty good. Hateful Eight and Grateful Eight. Although, some have questioned how grateful they might actually be, but it beats the alternative, I'm sure, now for the Four Corners. Grateful Eight and Hateful Eight. That's, Cameron, you might want to trademark that one. That's solid. That is solid. Bry Guy, 27-24. How do you want to see schedules moving forward? Pods, divisions. Yeah, but your last part here is it's the 3 to 4 protected rivals, round robin, the rest. 3 to 4 protected rivals, I think, is what my preference would be on that. But again, as I've already kind of gone on the rant here today, I just don't care all that much about how it works out. They'll figure it out and it'll be fine. It's just for whatever reason, I don't get into that as much. I don't get into that so much. Nick, what's up, Nick? Nick says, not much to add. Here we go. Not much to add. Sad for the abandonment of tradition in college football, but beyond ecstatic at where things in the Big 12 are at today in contrast to what it looked like 2 years ago. In Yormark, we trust. Go Pokes and go Big 12. It's a great message, Nick. Pardon me. I'm going to have to put the computer here. No. Might not be able to, actually. That means we got to hustle. All right, I'm gonna have to get this wrapped up pretty soon here before this thing dies, because I've either got to shut my ring light off or look. This is hotel. This is what happens when you do it in a hotel. But I'm with you, Nick. it is a sad day in a lot of aspects for college sports, but it is another sad day in a long line of sad days. The Big 12 has known that these things can happen, and the Big 12 has dealt with these sorts of things before. That's my frustration with how crazy the outpouring of sympathy and like condolences was yesterday with what we saw. So, yeah, I feel you, Nick. I'm pretty much in the same spot. BD, how does realignment play out if USC and UCLA goes to the Big 10 before OU and Texas leave the Big 12? I mean, I guess it would depend on how the Pac-12 reacted. A part of the problem I would have is like the Pac-12 is never, they didn't act aggressively at all at any point throughout this process when they really needed to go add schools. I mean, I think for sure if USC and UCLA go, I think you're definitely getting the next domino of like Texas and Oklahoma would have happened. The question to me would be like, would the Pac-12 actually have had their leadership act any differently throughout all this? And I'm not entirely sure. That's a good hypothetical that could have a lot of answers that we'll just never really know. But I would just say Bob Bowlesby reacted very well and handed the baton off to a master marketer who's done a genius job with the conference. I think the Big 12's leadership has proven to be much better. So if you're giving me the leadership teams that were in place at both, I would still think that the Big 12 probably has a leg up there. But it's a good question. Steve. What's up, Steve? Thank you for your support, Steve. Thank you for being here. Steve said, a BYU fan here, begrudgingly excited about the annual renewal of the Holy War. Seen that word a couple times here tonight, Steve. Seen that word a couple times here tonight from BYU folks. Begrudgingly excited about getting the Holy War back with Utah. I get it, man. BYU fans, you had that opportunity there where it could have been telling Utah, thanks but no thanks. Get out of here. You weren't excited about coming. We'll stick in the new conference. You guys can go to the Mountain West or whatever. But, like, Utah football is going to be good for the league, man. It's going to be good for the league. We'll have some fun with that. And Justin beating the buzzer as usual, Justin. Good timing. Justin says, take your victory lap, Big 12. Y'all deserve it. Thank you, Justin. Much appreciated. This has felt like, in a lot of ways, a victory lap here. It's been a fun time to share in all of this with you guys. We'll see what continues to happen. I mean, we now have it officially announced by the Big 12 as of tonight that all of this is done. Oregon, Washington, official to the Big 10. We'll see. Like, I'm supposed to be traveling Sunday night, so I don't know that I'll be able to get a live show in. If things continue to pop up, which I'm sure they will, I may try to still do some content. I'll just play it by ear. But you guys know I've got you covered. I've got you covered. Even on vacation, I've got you covered here. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I'm live twice a week, typically on normal weeks. Lately, it's been more often with everything going crazy. Wednesday, Sunday, we get live shows like this. They're a blast. It's a lot of fun. If you want realignment content, you want college football, college basketball from a Big 12 angle, make sure to subscribe here on this channel. Arizona fans, Arizona State, Utah, Four Corners fans, tell Facebook groups, your friends, family, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Spread the word about the channel. Let's get more subscribers and build up this community even more. Like the video on your way out. I would appreciate that. If you could like the video and leave a comment in the comment section, whether you love me, hate me, agree, disagree, whatever it might be, that helps too. And Justin beats the buzzer again. Will Bill Walton be calling Big 12 games now? That's a dude I do feel bad for today, Bill Walton, man. That sucks. Rough one for him. He is fully welcome to call Big 12 basketball games if he would like, but I have a feeling that's probably not going to happen. Anyway, guys, this has been great. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping me make this work from a hotel room, police hostage. I just combined them both. Police interrogation, hostage situation, whatever it might be. We got it done with me against a blank wall, looking like I'm trapped here. So thank you immensely. I appreciate all of your guys' support so much. I know I say that a lot. I do truly mean it. And having like moments like this where we're all, as a league, getting to a better place, we're surviving, we're moving on, survive and advance. Like I just feel great for so many of you that have been in the same boat as a fan as like I was over the last 2 years. Thank you for being here for the ride. And much like Brett Yormark, man, we're not stopping now. We're not stopping now. So take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you guys soon.